Both views expressed on the following program are not necessarily those of WPSL. However, we do encourage you to like and share them on social media and with your friends, because it's time for the Sue-Ellensanders Show, hosted by Sue-Ellensanders.
And welcome to the Sue-Ellensanders Show. We're so glad you're here, and we're going to be learning a lot today from folks who know information that they've gathered, and we're going to be finding out the importance of the December 7th referendum that's coming up in the city of Port St. Lucie. And that was something that it addresses people who are in the city of Port St. Lucie, but it is also something that's going to affect all of St. Lucie County, because it's going to help bring higher paying jobs, or continue to bring higher paying jobs to Port St. Lucie. And I'm lucky to have with me today two gentlemen, Russ Blackburn, who is the city manager for the city of Port St. Lucie. Welcome, Russ. And Pete Tesch, who is the president of the Economic Development Council of St. Lucie County. So welcome, Pete. It's really more important than ever to bring higher paying jobs, not just to Port St. Lucie, but to St. Lucie County, and to create a situation where St. Lucie County and Port St. Lucie are more than just a bedroom community for people who travel to West Palm or Fort Lauderdale for jobs. Why is that important?
Well, Sue Ellen, first of all, it's an honor and pleasure to be on your show. And I'm also very happy to be with my good friend and colleague, Russ Blackburn. And again, I'm Pete Tesch, the president of St. Lucie EDC, and would like to share really some good news with you with regard to the growth of great jobs and businesses here in St. Lucie County, and specifically Port St. Lucie. And it's really a story of good news. And through the Economic Development Partnership, which includes the city of Port St. Lucie and the EDC, we've been very successful in attracting, retaining, and expanding businesses and help creating jobs for the community. And today we want to talk to you about this important economic development tool that you referenced, the property tax exemption. So I believe that we're underway on really an economic development renaissance for Port St. Lucie. And when you hear some of the companies that are coming and that are expanding, we are shedding rapidly the fact that we are a bedroom community. In fact, we just got word today that you've heard of Smart Asset. Mm-hmm. They're the folks that do a lot of economic and demographic research. They referenced today that the city of Port St. Lucie is the 41st rapid growing boom town in the United States in terms of population, but also economic growth. Earlier this year, the Milken Institute, that measures all metro areas across the U.S., indicated that the city of Port St. Lucie had the 31st highest growing local economy, and also the robustness of its economic strength was noted. So we're really fortunate to have the leadership of Mr. Blackburn, and also City Council at Port St. Lucie that's helped navigating and providing leadership for this job creation. So I'll stop there, because I know you got some other questions, and I'm sure Russ would like to add to that.
Well, for one thing, it's important to note that it's kind of like the Wizard of Oz, in that there are people behind the curtain that you might not see day to day. And when I say you, I mean the citizens of Port St. Lucie and St. Lucie County, that you hear about businesses coming, or you see businesses go up, but you don't understand, or you may not understand all of the men and women behind the curtain that were doing things to get this to happen. People didn't just wake up and, have someone knocking on their door. We want to come to Port St. Lucie. There's usually some recruiting that's involved, and there's a lot of tools that you have to have in your toolbox. And Russ, I'm going to give you an opportunity to talk about business growth in Port St. Lucie and some of the tools that you take advantage of.
Oh, thank you, Sue Ellen. I appreciate it very much. And thank you, Pete. One of the things I've learned over my career, and it is clearly evident in Port St. Lucie and St. Lucie County, is it takes great partnerships to do great things. And we're doing them in Port St. Lucie. So years back, 30, 40 years ago, when the city was really in its infancy, the city started out being a retirement community, or at least envisioned by the General Development Corporation as a retirement community. Now, the reality is we've never been a retirement community. We have retirees who live here, and we are a highly sought after retirement place to live. But we're a working community, a community that people, they work, they contribute, they produce economically. And unfortunately, for a number of years, we've had a significant outflow out of not only Port St. Lucie, but St. Lucie County. One of the most recent numbers I saw was around 79,000 people commute out of St. Lucie County every morning on weekdays to go find a job in Palm Beach County, Broward. They bring those wages back. They support their families. They're part of the Little League teams, part of the ballet programs, but they do have to travel. And one of the goals of the city council, and I believe St. Lucie County and the EDC and all of our partners, has been to give people job opportunities in our community. Mm-hmm. And so the EDC was kind of formed on a premise of, let's bring jobs to St. Lucie County, Port St. Lucie. And so we're going to talk a little bit today about some successes, but also something that we need help from our residents on, and that's allowing the city council to have one of the tools, one of several tools that we have to help attract new businesses and expand existing businesses. And so in that tool is enabled in state statute. It allows cities and counties to provide for an abatement that they don't go away. They just abate the city taxes and the county taxes for a significant expansion of a business or a new business that comes in that's a targeted industry. That generally is a business that's bringing money or capital into our community. So the legislature gives cities and counties this tool, but they put a little hook in it that I really don't like, but it's also worthwhile to have it there because it affirms if we're going in the right direction. Mm-hmm. So voters have to vote to allow the city council or the county commission to offer this abatement. And every time they do the abatement, they have to actually adopt an ordinance specific to the business that will receive the abatement of their ad valorem taxes on city or county property. The hook that the legislature threw in is they sunset it. So every 10 years, the voters have to vote to renew this authority. And so we have on December 7th of this year, 2021, a referendum question asking the voters, do you want to renew the City Council of Port St. Lucie's ability to have one more tool to be able to help recruit, targeted industries, substantial expansions in our community. So it is time limited. It's for 10 years that the city council would have this authority. And for a business that receives the abatement, they have to meet a lot of standards. There's an agreement in the ordinance. And the predominant among those standards are a financial investment in capital, building a new building, expanding an existing building, and hiring new people. So it's important, hiring new people and making this financial investment. If you don't continue those during the process, if you never hire the people or you never make the financial investment, you will not receive the abatement. So it's not valid.
So the tax abatement, even if it's given to begin with, you can take it away if the business is not performing at the level they said.
It's a performance-based incentive. And so if you don't perform, you don't get the incentive. And so that's important. It's another thing that's important is that it's only abating the city ad valorem taxes, and in our case, the county ad valorem taxes. So you still pay school board taxes. I know that's dear to your heart.
Right.
You pay your Florida Inland Navigation District taxes. You pay your South Florida Water Management District taxes, all of that list of other taxes. And it even exempts out under state statute voter approved special assessments. So in the case of Crosstown Parkway, the business will still pay those taxes. So it's a relatively small incentive, but that has a big impact on helping communities and the EDC attract new investments in our community. Let me pause right there because I've probably given Pete a lot of things to talk about.
Before we get started with Pete, I'd just like to repeat one thing you said at the beginning, is that this is a renewal of a referendum. So 10 years ago, voters voted for this 10 years ago.
That's exactly right. They voted yes. And the city has been using this tool all along. We might note that the same thing happened with St. Lucie County. Their ability to grant abatements ends next year in 2022. So they will have a similar referendum next November. And Fort Pierce will also have to have a similar referendum. We're kind of first out of the gate because we were on a little bit different schedule. But it's all giving cities and counties tools they need to be competitive, to really, because we are in a very competitive world. We know that.
Right.
We're competing every time a business thinks about where do they want to make a significant investment. They have a lot of choices. And we love Florida. We've got beaches and sunshine, a relatively low tax state, but we're going head to head with other states that may have something else to offer. They may have an opera house. They may have things that are really appealing to some businesses. And so we need to level the playing field and need to have as many tools as we can to make sure we compete effectively.
And Pete, I know that you have case studies and examples of businesses who over the last 10 years have moved to Port St. Lucie and been able to take advantage of the tax abatement, and how maybe it was just that one little extra thing that helped push them over the edge of making that decision.
Excuse me. Absolutely, Sue Ellen. And Russ gave a very articulate explanation of the importance of the property tax exemption. But just to back up a little bit and to support what you just said, successful communities that have robust economies they have a game plan. And that's what we have here in St. Lucie County and Port St. Lucie, is a active participation to recruit, to retain and expand new and expanding businesses. So this is really critical. And the reason why is that, and you alluded to this earlier, is that there was a lack of high wage, high skilled jobs for our community. In fact, St. Lucie County, we're at 85% of the state average earnings per worker, which is, for St. Lucie County, we're about right under 40,000, and that's increasing. So the jobs that are being created are paying above that, anywhere from 107 to 125, even to 150%. So this is something that's really going to benefit the citizens of Port St. Lucie and St. Lucie County. So you're right. We try to measure everything, because return on investment and the impact of our work is critical. So I'm not going to go back 10 years because we only have 52 minutes, but I'll go back 5 or 6 years.
Okay.
So we've measured from 2017 to 2021, 46 new and expanding businesses in the entire county that have either relocated or expanded their operations. And they go all the way from manufacturing, distribution, logistics, healthcare, and professional business services. So along with aviation, marine, we're starting to see a really diversification of the economy. So of these 46 projects, and you know many of them well, all the way from Expert Shutters, Camco, Pursuit, Maverick Boat Group, A1, Contender, Dawn Steel, XL International, Oculus Surgical, the FedEx Regional Sortation Center, Cheney Brothers Inc., and now Amazon. I just mentioned a handful. I still got 30 other companies to mention, but I won't. But the important thing is that we commissioned the Economic Strategy Center out of Atlanta, Georgia, and they're a very prominent economic research firm. So they measured these new companies and expanding companies' economic output. So these 46 projects are going to create close to 6,000 new jobs paying above the average earnings per worker, and then create another 5,000 in indirect and other induced jobs, somewhere in the vicinity of 10,000 jobs. 10,000 jobs.
Wow.
That's a lot of jobs. The size of our workforce is about 170,000 for St. Lucie County. So this is going to have a tremendous economic impact. So, not only with the direct payrolls and the capital investment, which of those 46 projects have $500 million in new capital investment. So the overall economic output of this is over $1.85 billion. So, as Russ was talking about the importance of the property tax exemption and how that relates to an individual or a citizen and to the business, not only do you have that payroll, but you have new businesses being created, kind of a business to business interaction. Mm-hmm. Businesses, vendors, suppliers have to help those new companies and expanding companies with their services. The individuals that get those jobs, they have an increase in their paychecks. Mm-hmm. So as they get more money, they have increased consumer spending and disposable income, and that all creates that economic output, $1.85 billion. So just to put that in context, the overall gross domestic product of St. Lucie County is about $8.5 billion measured by the state. So, we're really almost a 20% increase in the GDP of St. Lucie County You don't see that today, but you will see that in the next 18 to 24 months. So the bottom line is that not only with the direct economic output, but the fiscal benefits that accrue to the taxing entities that Russ just mentioned. So out of that, that economic whirlwind that's occurring, about $12 million of direct tax revenues is going to St. Lucie County, and another 11 million are going to our municipalities. The vast majority of that is going to Port St. Lucie. And then $16 million are going to what Russ mentioned: school board, water management district, children's service council, and others. So while these companies are getting, some of them are getting this property tax exemption, they're still paying their taxes, but it's generating tremendous revenue, not only for our local government entities, but for our businesses. And then also the bottom line, our families and the people that work for those businesses are getting bigger paychecks.
And, you know, to turn it into, you know, you said the taxes that are going to be collected, and that means improvements to different, the more money for the Children's Services Council to spend, more money for the school board budget, more money for the city of Port St. Lucie and for St. Lucie County to spend on different projects. So is there a downside to this? Are the businesses that are already established in St. Lucie County, are they jealous or resentful that new businesses are getting this tax abatement? You said that there are some existing businesses that can also apply and receive this.
So that's a great question.
If you don't, go ahead, Russ.
No, so it's a great question, because we can't urge you to vote yes or no. I can't. The statute says that the city can only provide information. We'll provide the information, and you have to draw your own conclusion as to whether it appears to be a good thing or a bad thing. But I would say first, it's not increasing any existing property owners' taxes. It's only abating the taxes for a time-limited period for a new investment, not an existing, a new investment where you're adding a significant amount of square footage, new employees at an above average wage.
So it can affect an existing business, but they have to have something new, like a new add-on, extended department employees.
All of those, yes, they have to. I believe it's 10% of their square footage. They have to increase at least by 10%, minimum of 10 new employees at an above average wage. So we've not seen any quite that small, but to give you a great example of a real success story, the city provided the abatement to Expert Shutters. And it's been about 6, maybe 7 years ago. It was a locally started business working out of kind of out of the trunk of their car, providing hurricane shutters, and they were successful and they were doing well. And the owner decided to expand their square footage and built a new building right along the turnpike, built a new 24,000 square foot building and right here in Port St. Lucie. So prior to that expansion, this owner was paying around $9,700 a year in all taxes. So adding them all up. So 5 years after the expansion and the abatement was ending, they were paying $29,000 a year in taxes.
Wow.
So substantial increase to our tax base, a new business that had, I believe their employment was up about 5 times what they expected. And so they hired more people than they said they would hire. They made a big capital investment in our community. And every year they're paying taxes to all the taxing authorities, paying the money back basically many times over for the investment that the community made in them. And so, yeah, Pete may have more examples of whether there's a downside, but I can definitely talk and to the upside for some of these businesses.
So this incentive can actually encourage new businesses, existing businesses to expand and to purchase new equipment and create new jobs. So it actually, knowing that abatement is available to them, that might incentivize them to do that, to take the next step, to grow their business in one way or another.
Yes, and we Pete and I talked yesterday, and Pete's done it 100 times. I've just done it a few times. But we were frequently called on to meet with site selectors. These are professionals that go around the country that are helping businesses that want to engage in a substantial expansion. And so those site selectors, they have a matrix, essentially, all the things that they believe would be beneficial to their client, the business that wants to expand. And it's essentially a spreadsheet. Do you have adequate water? Are you near rail? Are you near an airport? Are you beside the interstate, a turnpike? And what's the labor force like? What's the educational attainment in the community? And are there any incentives that will help mitigate the impact of our investment, at least for a short term after we make that investment? And that's really what we're talking about. We're saying we'll help you, we'll invest in your business. Port St. Lucie is going to make that investment. And we expect to be paid back because it's only a short-term limited investment, this abatement. And so a good example is Tamco. You've probably been by the building. It's a 410,000 square foot new building in Port St. Lucie in
right next door to Kaiser, right?
Yes, it is, right next door to Kaiser. So Tamco was located in Port St. Lucie in the St. Lucie West Industrial Park. They were spread out over several buildings, and they reached a point where they needed to consolidate to be more efficient. They were looking at the idea of moving out of Port St. Lucie, moving out of St. Lucie County, potentially to reach their long-term goals. They hired a site selector to help them decide where is the best place for them to be. They're headquartered in Dallas. It's an important fact. So they're not headquartered here. So they looked all over the nation, and Pete and the team at the EDC helped them, provided them information about Port St. Lucie, about different, even other locations in St. Lucie County. So one of the factors that they looked at, in all of these different cities that they were reviewing all over the nation was, do you have any incentives? And the incentives really do kind of blunt the impact of a major investment. So you're making an investment in a city or a county, and at least early on, that's going to be a bit of a hit to your economic system, when you have to pay new taxes in a new location. So we had the abatement to offer. The city had it as well as the county, and that went into their matrix. And of all those different criteria that they looked at, ultimately they narrowed it down to Dallas, Texas, and Charlotte, North Carolina, and Port St. Lucie. And so we competed head to head with Dallas and Charlotte, which is A lot of folks would never have thought
Yeah,
Port St. Lucie would be competing with Dallas and Charlotte.
right.
Pete did, but it really is a big deal for us to compete with these large metro areas, and we won.
A very big deal.
Very big deal. We won. And so they made their investment here. They kept 210 jobs that were already here, and they added at least 50 more over the next 5 years, and probably to be multiples of that. These are jobs that are right here in Port St. Lucie and St. Lucie County. They're good jobs. They pay more than the average wage. And that abatement that was on that list, it goes away in 10 years. So it doesn't stay there forever. And day one, they were paying more in taxes to the various taxing authorities, even with the abatement, than they were paying before they decided to expand. So we got more tax revenue as a community. You got an investment of all of the capital, the spending to build their new building, new employees, and they went from $425,000 a year in taxes to the various taxing authorities to right after they opened up $903,000.
Wow.
So great investment. And it showed that how that one tool can really help to level the playing field in a competitive environment.
But as you talked about the matrix, the checklist, so to speak, of what either an existing business looking to expand or a new business is looking at, let's talk about, so this tax abatement is one of the tools in the toolbox, but there are other tools, and having the money that is coming in from the taxes that it's like a whole circle of life, so to speak, for the business economy, because having that money that's coming in from the new businesses is making us have investment in schools, roads, pay for services. And then the other things on the checklist are all going to be better for the next organization or business that's looking to come in. All the rest of the stuff on your checklist are going to be at a higher level, right, Pete?
That's correct, Sue Ellen. And just to reinforce this, is that even though there is tax exemptions, the return on investment is so strong in that, let's say you're investing in the stock market and you get 11% return. So if you put in $100, you get 111. But in this case, with our local governments, every dollar invested in economic development is yielding $24. So that's a great rate of return. So it's so important because it helps with our schools, our transportation, our quality of life, cultural and recreational amenities. It's making us a better, more diversified economy and even a better place to live. So it's critical. It's not the only tool that we have, but probably the most important tool that we have is that we have pro-business, pro-growth governments here in St. Lucie County, and particularly Port St. Lucie. So they recognized a long time ago that we need to create high-wage, high-skilled jobs for our residents, and by bringing in different types of businesses and helping the precious industry that we have here stay and expand, is creating this better environment that we live in. In my humble opinion, St. Lucie County and specifically Port St. Lucie is a much better place to live now in 2021 than it was 10 years ago.
Let's talk about the last 10 years a little bit, Russ, because I know in parks and recreation alone in the last 10 years, you've had and roads and things that are connected with recreation, from everything from the Crosstown Expressway to the new parks that have opened up. It definitely has made such a difference in the quality of life and for citizens of Port St. Lucie. And in the last 2 years, as we've tried to spend more time outdoors, it's been really important to us.
So you mentioned earlier that circle of life, and we're really in a economic ecosystem. You know, there's no one thing that makes Port St. Lucie a great place to live. There's a collection, nor is there one thing that makes it a great place to make an investment. Quality of life, though, is critical for any decision. And what we see is that it is circular, because as new businesses make investment of our community and in our community, it reduces the burden that we have as homeowners. So we're now able to spread how we pay for the things that make this a better community out among not just our neighbors on our block, but amongst large businesses as well. They're not only helping to pay taxes, but they're also hiring new employees that buy homes in our community, they spend in our community, and it all makes this a better place to live. So what we're in a process, and it's really, I believe, going to be a renaissance of, you know, dramatically improving our park system. You brought that up. We're if you've been on the eastern side of Port St. Lucie, right near Veterans Parkway and Port St. Lucie Boulevard, is the Botanical Gardens, one of the really nice assets of our region, not just PSL. And so all around that is going to be the Port District, where we have now it's almost a half mile of boardwalk on the North Fork of the St. Lucie River. We'll be having one of the nicest, best children's play areas in the nation, guaranteed.
Wow.
You're gonna love it. And it's designed to not only be great for able-bodied kids, but kids who may have a little difficulty on, you know, some of the traditional equipment you might find in a playground area. All of those investments can occur because we're growing as a city, as an economy. So it does, none of it happens all by itself. It all kind of rises together like a rising tide.
Can you tell me what is the mindset of the communities that are anti-growth? I mean, Port St. Lucie has not been like that, but I know there are some neighboring Florida communities that are. What is the advantage to them of being non-growth?
Boy, that's a great question. I don't know, Pete, you want to try that one? I'll be glad to answer, but I'll give you a shot at it first. Because I've actually worked in at least one of those communities.
Not mentioning any names, but.
Yeah. I would say, Sue Ellen, that, you know, our surrounding counties and the Treasure Coast, I mean, they have a strategy and they have a philosophy that they want to control growth and they want to preserve the quality of life that they cherish so much. And, you know, whether that's Martin County or Indian River County, they're delightful, prosperous communities. But I'm not really buying their strategy for economic growth, in that what I think we're doing is a more successful model with regard to diversifying the economy and providing high-wage, high-skilled jobs for our community. It's also really important to note, Sue Ellen, that St. Lucie County is the largest county population-wise.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, because of the growth of the economy and the assets that Russ mentioned, while housing prices are going up. This is still a very affordable community. And the fact that so many people live here in St. Lucie County, we also supply the workforce for the surrounding counties. A lot of St. Lucie County and Port St. Lucie residents work in Martin County and Palm Beach County. And Russ referred to the fact that we have a lot of labor mobility, people driving every day to their jobs. So while this is a great place to live, it's very affordable. And I think Indian River and Martin County can be happy for our growth because we're supplying their workforce for them. So that's their attitude and strategy. And they're, again, two great counties, but I think we have the right recipe for success in terms of economic growth and providing wealth for our citizens.
Well, I know as an ordinary citizen, as a parent, two of the things that would be of most concern to me regarding growth would be traffic on the roads. Is it too much traffic somewhere? And, the response to it has been expanding roads in Crosstown Parkway, which once Crosstown Parkway opened, the difference in Prima Vista and Port St. Lucie Boulevard as east-west corridors was greatly improved, but also the green spaces. And I know that, you have in place departments that make sure that the green spaces don't go away. And I think Port St. Lucie Botanical Gardens is a wonderful example of that. You mentioned the recreational areas there too, but also through the pandemic, as organizations and people were trying to do things that were outdoors, Port St. Lucie Botanical Gardens and other places like that became a real useful area to have events where they could be outdoors, where they could set up events outdoors. The same thing with the Mid-Florida Event Center as well. So, those are the two things that I can think of offhand of why you wouldn't want growth. And I think that the city of Port St. Lucie has continued to be responding to those things as they grow.
Yeah, thank you, Sue Ellen. We're growing a good bit out in the southwestern part of the city, the whole Tradition area, but we have planned in that growth park areas, open space, green areas. We also have a art and public places ordinance that requires a contribution to art that can be available and accessed by the public. So we're going to be doing a new Tradition regional park, probably start construction in the next 20 months or so, that will have active fields, passive areas, some place for you to go walk or to take your children or your grandchildren to a softball game or a soccer field. And so I would say that what Port St. Lucie has done and what our goal is to have it all. We want to have jobs for our community. We want to have higher wages, and that's what this referendum is all about, jobs and higher wages. But we also want an outstanding quality of life, and we're working to make sure that we maintain that quality of life. So when those new companies or existing companies expand and they're able to take advantage of living in our and investing in our community, that they don't denigrate the quality of life, they add to it. And that's really our major goal.
And I think it's important to note again, and Pete's already pointed out, that there's this long checklist that people have when they're looking at either expanding or coming to St. Lucie County and Port St. Lucie specifically, and that the tax abatement is just one thing on that checklist. But sometimes it's that one thing that tilts toward Port St. Lucie in the favor that we're higher up as a choice. And there are some, I know that every day I see the EDC making announcements of new organizations or businesses that are expanded or coming to Port St. Lucie. And I know this referendum is important to you. So let's go. We have about 8 more minutes to go. So let's just talk about advantages versus disadvantages. And who, is there any downside for the Joe ordinary citizen?
So let me mention something. We haven't hit on it specifically, but the city for probably 20 years has been wanting to grow our economic base. One of the things that happened in the early 2000s was the city approved an annexation of an area, the southwest area of the city, and included in that area and in their development of regional impacts, which were their planning documents, was a jobs corridor. The idea that, okay, we're going to annex land in, we're going to see an increase in population, we're going to ensure that we plan for new park space. There's going to be a trail that would allow you to walk, run, ride your bike throughout this whole area. And there's 1,200 acres of land set aside for economic development to grow the tax base, to grow the employment base, to give you a job. If you live in PSL or in our region, you'll have a place with a job where you can get a job. That was pretty dormant until about 3 years ago. That property was actually gifted to the city of Port St. Lucie. And since then, Pete and I would say it's been a wild ride. It's been a lot of fun.
Yes, indeed.
Yeah. So, but one of the great things that has happened out of this, and we always get lucky. And one of the potential clients that Pete brought to the city was a group called Sandstone. So Sandstone develops logistic commerce parks. They approached the city with the help of the EDC, and they bought 100 acres, and they have options to purchase another 225 acres or so, so around 325 acres. They're developing a Class A logistics commerce park in Port St. Lucie. So you're seeing the fruit of that decision rising up out of the ground now. Federal Express's new distribution facility is almost complete. That's going to have 40 full-time jobs and 400 part-time jobs. There's another similar type business with 250,000 square feet that is going to be announced in the next 10 days or so, maybe less. Pete throws things at me. Just be quiet. Don't tell anybody about that.
He's got his secrets.
But it's called Project Senior, so it'll be a great announcement.
Okay.
And there are others all lined up. And what do these have in common? They all chose Port St. Lucie on that matrix of decisions of what's important to us. They all are hiring people and paying them above average wage, and they all chose as one of the things that was important to them in making their final decision where to locate that tax incentive, that time limited abatement. You know, for 10 years, we're looking at a time limited abatement, and after 10 years, it goes away, and they're on the tax roll just like everybody else, fully on the tax roll, because remember, they're already paying taxes. But what are these investments doing? They're giving people jobs in Port St. Lucie. They're giving them good jobs that pay better than our average wage. And they're all, whether the people who are working there or the businesses themselves, they're all contributing to a better quality of life and more balanced quality of life. And so let's get back to the question you asked earlier. What's different between Port St. Lucie and some of these counties and areas that don't seem to welcome growth? They don't have balance.
Mhm.
We have balance.
Okay, and that's important. And Pete Tesch has secrets, and we're going to be hearing more about new businesses that are coming to Port St. Lucie every day. But right now, you might, as a listener, you might have more questions and want to see more information, or even see the language of the referendum. And there's two places, main places, that people can go to get more information. And one of them is the City of Port St. Lucie's website. And there's a lot of really good information, including a fast fact sheet, some background, a couple videos. And again, the City of Port St. Lucie can't and won't tell you how to vote. They're just going to put all that information out there for you. In addition, the EDC's website also has a lot of great information too. Is there a particular place on your website that you know that's located, Pete?
Yes, ma'am. If you go on to youredc.com, youredc.com, it's on our homepage about the tax abatement. And then also on the homepage is the reports and studies, and a lot of the things that Russ and I mentioned in terms of statistics and data and the compelling reasons to do this are all on there for all your listeners' reading pleasure.
And I know that there's a lot of people who want to see those facts and figures and statistics that may not be as easy to communicate in a radio show. And so youredc.com, you can go there, or you can go to www.cityofpsl.com, correct?
That's correct. You can also go to the Chamber of Commerce.
Okay.
The Realtors of St. Lucie, Palm Beach, Broward, the Realtors Association has information. TCBA, the Treasure Coast Builders Association, I believe, has information. So we have a number of partners.
So you can check any of those places. We've been lucky to have with us today Pete Tesch, who's president of the EDC, and Russ Blackburn, who is city manager of the City of Port St. Lucie. Gentlemen, thanks for joining us today. And we will see everybody back here. We'll be in the studio next week with more.
Thank you, Sue.